Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you.
So what is your sober date?
20th of June, 2002.
Okay, so you got some 21 years now.
Yeah.
What was going on June 19th of 2002?
Drunk as a, I was drunk as a monkey. I had, leading up to it, I'd been out for about 10 days. There's a bit of a backstory to it.
I want to hear it.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I grew up in an alcoholic home, right? My dad was alcoholic, grandfather, most of my uncles, all that sort of stuff. And there was quite an unhealthy attitude towards alcohol at home. I was one of 6 kids, 4 sisters, and I had an identical twin brother. And
Younger, older, in the middle?
we were, there was 3 sisters older than myself and my brother, and I have a younger sister. Now, younger, I'd say, but she's in her mid-50s now, so none of us are that young. But however, yeah, so it was quite an unhealthy attitude. My father stopped drinking 3 months after I was born and was a good, strong A member for the next probably 11, 12 years. And he slipped off, he slipped in 1976. And for the next 7 or 8 years, it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
So when did you discover alcohol?
When my first drink was about 16 or 17. Wasn't anything remarkable at the time. It was only as I suppose matured or got older. One of the issues was, like, when I was that age, like, you didn't have the money to drink. I was serving an apprenticeship and I was on, well, of course it was back in 1980, but I suppose it would have been the equivalent of about $40 US a week. And you can't do a lot of damage on that. But as I got older, the money increased, and I would more regularly go into pubs or functions or whatever. And it didn't take me long to realize that I liked what alcohol did for me.
Now, what's the legal drinking age in Ireland? You're my first guest in Ireland.
18.
18?
That's legal.
Was it easy to drink at 16 though?
It wasn't that difficult. But so it just sort of meandered along. I met my wife at that stage. We were 17. And yeah, things were going all right. And then when we turned 21, we decided we'd go adventuring, and we went to Australia. So we went to Australia in 1986, and the intention was to go for a year. It ended up we stayed there for 16. So it was there where my drinking really took off, and it's where I crossed the line into alcoholism, probably in the mid-90s.
So what made you an alcoholic? For example, I consider myself an alcoholic at 12 because I was drinking because of bullies. I was drinking because of grief I was suffering. So I didn't know of any other way to feel better besides having a drink at 12, and that's what makes me an alcoholic at 12. So when did you realize, or did you even realize you were being an alcoholic in your 20s?
Oh, I realized probably a little bit more in my 20s. Being honest, when the addiction took over, or the actual physical addiction to alcohol took over in the mid-90s. But looking back on it, I've always believed I was born alcoholic. I mean, I had all the traits and tendencies, I could blame a lot of things. One of the things was too that being a twin, and I was an identical twin, there was no, no sense of of individuality. My mother dressed us the same, and for years, and it was only after my brother passed away that people started calling me Joe. Yeah, even people in my hometown, even now, they have a difficulty with that because they're like, as kids growing up, we were like two peas in a pod. Now, I've looked at that too, talking about what made me an alcoholic or whatever. But I go back to one of the few parts in the big book, and it's the acceptance thing, and it says, "Okay, God, I am an alcoholic of sorts, and now what am I going to do about it?" I could blame me dad, I could blame my upbringing, I could blame whatever. And there was issues growing up and stuff, but it's about what I do today, 20 years or 30 years down the track. I've got the acceptance that my life was the way it was, and so what do I do today is I just make sure that I don't pick up, and I just keep the thing quite simple. I go to regular meetings, keep in constant contact with other members, do a bit of step work with new members, do a bit of service, just walk the walk.
Was your brother a drinker too?
Yeah, that's what killed him. Yeah, he took his own life on the 30th of July 2004.
I'm sorry to hear that. How was that for you, 2 years sober, and you're not even, I would say it's probably different to lose a sibling, let alone a twin, where it's like you guys were the same person. So how was that how did you navigate that 2 years sober?
Well, he died in Australia, and he was almost 3 weeks dead before we found out here in Ireland. And then he was cremated, and his remains were sent back. And what I did from the time I found out that he had died, I was carried by my sponsor and members, went to meetings every night, because it took a week from the time he died to the time we got him home and buried him. And I just went to meetings. Now, subsequently, I realized that meetings alone weren't enough. So about 3-4 months after John's passing, I started going to counselling, and I still go to counselling today, because it goes back to it. It goes back to the adage in the second step. I can't, but we can. I don't have all the answers to anything. I go to meetings. I don't drink. I try and keep it about today. People have known me in the fellowship for 20 years and they know nothing about me drinking. I can't remember my last hangover. I can't remember what it was like. I remember my last drink, but I can't remember waking up with fear or not knowing where I was or what I did or
Now,
all that.
had you tried to quit drinking before June 10th, 2002?
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. Many times. I realized, as I said, I'd realized a few years previous to that when I drank, not only could I not stop, I didn't want to. I simply didn't want to. So I didn't. If I had the freedom to drink, I'd just keep drinking until I passed out. But it was only when, at the end of it, quite simply, what happened the last day was the pain got too much. I was fed up of being sick.
We say we're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
Popular phrase over here. I'm not sure about over there, but I was saying that before I even went to rehab. You know what I mean? Like I said to a friend of mine, like I'm just tired of being tired. And
oh, just the same old treadmill. I'm not going to do it again. Blah de blah. And then a few hours later, you'd be down nursing a beer to try and get it into you, and you'd be back on the treadmill again. And every day was the fucking. Oh, sorry. Every day was the same.
you can curse.
All right. Every day was the same, and like I went to rehab, and well, I went to a drying out hospital first, and then I went to a rehab to do a 6-week course, and it ended up it took me 5 months, and I needed every day of it, every single day of it I needed, because for the first couple of months when I was there, I thought it was just you stop drinking, and then everyone will think you're great, and your life will come back and be normal and stuff, and everything would be wonderful. By Jesus, was I deluded, and it was only when I was there, and I remember my mother, God be good to her, and my wife came down to visit me on a family day, and they came out of the family meeting, and we weren't at it. The residents weren't at it. My mother came out, and my wife, and both of them were crying, and they'd been told by one of the facilitators that I would never be sober as long as I had a hole in my arse. So I thought to myself, I'll show you. So I used that as a motivation, crazily enough. And so I started walking slowly. One of the things, when I came out of rehab and I started going to meetings, I was very lucky that I met a man who was a friend of my mother's, who'd been in for about 10, 12 years at the time. And he became my sponsor. Now, unfortunately, he died last year after he was my sponsor for 20 years, and he passed away last year, which left an awful hole. But by Jesus, that man saved my life. I didn't like him for the first 10 years because we had a rule that we couldn't become friends. I didn't need a friend, I needed a sponsor. And subsequently we became friends, but not like a real friend, if you know what I mean, because I had to leave him as my sponsor first. And even now, when I sponsor a few people, and I'm not interested in friendship so much. I want them to get sober, because it's too important, and it's too dangerous. I went through a phase a couple of years ago, and it seemed like every week I was going to another funeral of another member who had either died from drink or suicide or whatever. And you're just going, lads, come on. And invariably, it was because they stopped going to meetings. And then that goes back to the second step. I can't, we can. I can't. You know what? I became an alcoholic on my own. No argument. Right? But there's not a chance in the world I either got or will stay in recovery on my own. For me, and I don't know or care what other people do, but for me, I wouldn't dream of it. Couldn't. I'd be terrified.
What is it like growing up in such a drinking culture like Ireland to be home and not have a drink?
Look, it's a bit of a fallacy that, what people don't realize is Ireland has the largest number of non-drinkers of any European country.
I did not know that.
Oh, sure. How would you? You're in America.
To be a non-drinker, you have to be a drinker first. So those numbers, I would feel like sway.
All right, no, I'm saying people who have never drank.
Oh, wow.
Right? There's a lot of people in Ireland. We would have the largest number of people who have never drank. Right? And like the same score, to be an awful lot of people to be probably the same again who would have a glass of wine at Christmas. right? Now, the only problem with that is it does skew the figures because because of those who do drink, the averages are higher, right? Obviously. Uh, but I go to Spain a lot. I have a place in Spain that I go to. I have a property in Spain, and like their culture is quite drinky. You know, alcohol is everywhere and it's cheap. I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago. I was in Berlin, and if alcohol everywhere,
No,
and
it's true. I've been to Berlin, and I was an alcoholic still when I was in Berlin, and I was going to all the bars that I could and hopping from one to another. And you're absolutely right. The drinking is so easily to do, and it's outrageous. You know what I mean? Like the parties there were something else. I have a sister that lives out there.
I mean, I don't know if I'd use the phrase outrageous, but I mean, I suppose in ways it's just a cultural thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going out after I finish this. I have to go to. I'm going up to Dublin to a book launch this evening. Now I'm sure I'm going with another member, and it's not AA related, but I'm going with another member anyway, and I'm sure it'll be a wine and cheese jolly. You know. Now there'll be nice people at this, like refined people, and they'll nurse their glass of Pinot Grigio or whatever, right? Whereas if it was me, I'd be looking for the bottles. It's what makes us different. We just cannot drink normally. I'd often be out, I'd be out with my wife or whatever, and I'd say, like, she takes a drink, and I'd say, "Yeah, you getting a drink? Are you getting another one?" "No, I'm working tomorrow." "What? I'm working tomorrow?" What does that mean? Or you go to an Irish wedding and they'd have, to be free wine or whatever, to be served. And I've had enough. What does I've had enough mean?
Yeah. What does that even mean?
What is I've had enough? I'm still standing. I haven't had enough. That's the mindset of me. You know? So, but it's breaking it, and it's about, I look at my life today, and I left rehab. I had 80 euros and 9 cigarettes, and I thought my life was over. I was unemployable. I had absolutely nothing. Today, the one thing I have more than anything else in the world is most important. I have peace of mind. Yes, I do. I've been able to accumulate material things. I'm sitting in my own house here, about 50 miles south of Dublin. As I said, I have a property in Spain. I've got a nice car. I work with adults with special needs in a job that can be stressful, but I absolutely love it. And I can be responsible and grown up and mature and all that shite. And the only reason I can do it is because I have a 12-step program that allows me to do it.
Yeah.
I don't mean I heard a phrase used many, many years ago. A man talking about the steps, and he said, "I apply the steps in my daily affairs." I've been looking for that word for a long time. And I realize that's what I do. Subconsciously, I apply the steps in my daily affairs without knowing it.
Now, do you still smoke cigarettes, or were you able to kick that habit too?
Oh, no, of course I do. Have to have something.
Don't worry, I got Nicorette gum.
All right. Actually, I'm going to have one now. Me back. Look, I smoke cigarettes and I shouldn't, but it's my sponsor used to say to me. He said, "You can't lose your house and your wife and your life with one cigarette." He used to say to me, "If I was going anywhere, like a wedding or whatever, buy a packet. It's cheaper than a hangover." So, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
It's cheaper than a hangover. So.
Yep. I've been smoking since I was 13, and I'm trying to quit now, and it's been tough. I mean, I've been using the gum to get through the day, but I'm happy that I've only smoked 3 cigarettes since last Wednesday. So in a week, I've only had not 3 cigarettes, 3 packs. I would say a month ago, I was going through 2 packs a day.
Oh, yeah.
So I would consider that a victory right now.
So would I, but I tell you, for me, it's quite simply this. My primary purpose is to stay sober. I hope to eventually give up the cigarettes when I'm ready.
Yeah. That's the difference. Is you have to. It's same with alcohol. You have to be ready, or else it's not going to work.
Absolutely, but I would also say it's like I like a bit of chocolate every now and then. You know, and people, you shouldn't be eating too. Fuck off. Right?
Yeah, I used to go to meetings in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where Hershey candy's made, and they would have Hershey Kisses there. They would have all the different variety of Hershey candies at every meeting, like the small ones, and that's just the one. I started going. What's that?
I love the Toblerone.
Oh yeah,
the biggest, or the big, but it has to be the big one.
Do they even make small ones? I've only ever seen the big ones.
Buy them. No, I want the big one, and I'll eat it all.
Like an alcoholic, if you're gonna do something, you do it good.
Good God, yeah. This notion of all messing around with it, not at all, not going to happen. But you see, I don't have to drink, and that's it. You see, at the end of it, if I don't pick up a drink, everything's going to be all right. It may not work out the way I want it to work out, but it'll be all right. But pick up, Jesus, I'll tell you this. Give me 600 cigarettes over a bottle of whiskey any day.
Is that what you were drinking when you were drinking?
I drank anything at the end.
Yeah.
This podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it, that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA. That is betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA.
I wasn't.
So you were in rehab for 5 months. Most people here only do 30 days or 28 days because of insurance reasons.
That's different. You see, you've got a strange system. We don't do insurance like that. We do, but I didn't pay for it.
I didn't pay for it. They sent me a bill that I didn't pay.
I didn't even get a bill. But we don't, like, if you need it bad enough here, you get. Now, having said that, there's some rehab joints. There's one that I go to quite regularly for meetings, and it's 9,000 euros a month. So you can go from the sublime to the ridiculous. Some charity organizations do it, and there's some that are commercial entities. But look, you know how people get it. The biggest thing is that, and as you know, it's not so much what you do when you're in rehab, because when you're in rehab, you're sheltered, right? You're cocooned, you're surrounded by all nice stuff, and then real life hits you, you know. And even in relationships, like I know that for me, I went into rehab. It was about 3 months after I came back from Oz, 3 or 4 months. So my wife had to buy this house and do all that sort of stuff on her own. And it took 16 years before she put my name on the deeds of the house, which it was fine. I didn't mind that. And it took probably as long again for not to hand over some control, that would be unfair, but to allow me to take part in major decisions within our marriage.
Being an adult.
And, sorry?
Just being a regular adult.
Yeah, being a grown up. So, and that's fine. Look, the thing that'll get me is complacency. You see, if people say to me, "Oh, you haven't had a drink for 20 years, so everything must be fine," you still go, like I get, "Oh, you still go to those meetings?" Yep, I do. Why? Because I'm not well enough to stop going. And that's all it is. And I'm not well enough to stop going. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Why would I change things at this point? Why would I decide, oh, I've had a really good last 20 years. I was the first member of our family to go to university. Right? I went to university and I got a degree in social sciences and stuff. And I was rather proud of that. And, but like, again, at the starting point, you may have found it the same. I found at the start of my journey that I was more defining myself as an alcoholic, Joe the alcoholic. And now I define myself more so as Joe, the ordinary bloke who just happens to have an alcohol problem. And that's it.
Was there a lot of drinking at your university? Because over here there's a huge drinking culture in college. So how is it?
I don't know, because I used to go up and down every day. Because the university is 80 k's from where I was living, so I used to drive up and down. I didn't go to functions or stuff like that, and I rarely do now, unless I have to. And if I do go somewhere, I make sure A, I'm driving, and B, that there's a meeting on somewhere. Self-protection.
So you found meetings in other countries?
Oh God, yeah. I've been in meetings. I go quite right when I'm in Spain, because I go to Spain 7 or 8 times a year. So I go to meetings there quite regularly when I'm there. And then I go to meetings all over the southern part of Ireland. Just wherever the humour takes me, I'll go. I have certain meetings that I try and attend regularly in certain places as a home group, but I'll go wherever. I'm not that precious, so anywhere there's a room, I'll go.
I feel like these are meetings too, just two alcoholics having a conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, well, I tell you, just before I came online with you, there's a friend of mine. He's 5 doors up painting a little old lady's house, who's a member. I've known him since I started. And we just had a nice 10-minute chat before I came on to do this, And then, as I said, that tonight, this thing I'm going to tonight, I'm going with a member as well. And it'll be probably stuff on the way up and on the way home. And the majority of phone numbers on my phone are from members. And the reason being is that they're the people that I connect with. Yes, I do have friends who are not in the fellowship, and of some very good friends, because I have outside interests apart from, like one of the things apart from traveling, which I do, I go across to Old Trafford in Manchester 3 or 4 times a year to watch Man United play, and there's normally 7 or 8 of us go. 2 or 3 will be members, and the rest of them will just be mates, and we'll just go across, and they might have a beer or may not, or whatever. It makes no difference. It's just a day out of the ordinary, and as I said, you get a chance to see me team play, so brilliant. But I can only do those things because I'm sober. Unfortunately, my wife and we couldn't have children, but I have, what have I got? 18 nieces and nephews, and 13 great nieces and nephews. And, they're the absolute joy in my life. I've been fortunate to bring a couple of my nephews and great nephews across to football matches in the UK and stuff like that. And the parents ring me and say, "Oh, thanks for doing that, John." I'm going, "Don't thank me. I should be thanking you. Like you let your precious son go away for 36 hours, alcoholic. Hey, you know? Why? Because I'm sober. That's all. And it's not about, it's not about not drinking. I mean, the not drinking obviously is important, but it's, how sober am I on any given day? And some days I am, and some days I'm not. So progress rather than perfection. A good friend of
I got that on my tattoo.
And the other thing too is that always be open to learn. A member who was only around a couple of years, I remember said to me, Festina lente, which is Latin for hasten slowly. And I love that phrase because I remember there was an old guy used to be in the rooms. He's passed away now. He used to say, "I love the smell of a slow recovery." Doing the adage from Apocalypse Now. Love the smell of a slow recovery. Because he used to say, people come in and after 6 months they're working 150 hours a week to make it up. What people don't realize is the easiest way to make it up and make amends is to not be an arsehole anymore.
Yep. And you learn that in the program.
Absolutely. But the other thing too is stop being an arsehole to yourself. Who did I hurt the most in my addiction, in my active addiction? I hurt me.
Yeah, when I did my first 4-step, I would say majority of the resentments were against myself more than anybody else.
Really? Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
I feel like if you don't have yourself on your resentments, then you're doing it wrong.
I've never bought into the doing it right or doing it wrong. I mean, look, I know people someone once said, if you like everyone in the fellowship, you're not getting enough meetings. There's people who have their own path and it wouldn't suit me, right? But that's okay. I still go to 3 or 4 meetings a week after 20 years. And there's some people I know after that length of time, they get one a fortnight. One a fortnight works for them. It will not work for me. Because after about 10 days, I become an asshole. No, after 5 days, I become an asshole. So it's not worth it. And I would be in touch with members on a daily basis, one way or the other. But it's that connection, you see, and that connection is the reminder to me that I'm not the only person in the world with an alcohol problem.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down and taking the time with me and talking about your sobriety and your recovery, because everyone's recovery does look different. And I like to find the most random people to tell their story. This way, maybe you can connect with one person that I don't know.
Well, for me, you see, there's also something too that, again, it goes back to my sponsor. He was very, how would you put it, blunt. Yeah, he used to say things to me like, when I make a suggestion, he'd say, when it comes out of my mouth, it's a suggestion. When you get it in your ear, it's an order, right? But he would say to me, certain things, like he'd say, I'd be ranting or giving out or something. And he'd go, "Well, Joe, how important is it?" And I'd go, "Well, fuck you," right? And then realize it wasn't. But the other thing he taught me was that, you go along to rooms, and after a couple or 3 years, you've no excuse to drink anymore because, your life is better, right? And you've also, it's about, this is a program for living, and it's not about, I could tell you about every vodka that I drank or every beer that I drank or whatever, right? Do you know what? It didn't affect you in the slightest. It didn't affect you in any way, shape, or form, or any other alcoholic, right? But for me, it's about what do I do today? From the time I wake up in the morning to the time I put my head on the pillow at night, what do I do that keeps this alcoholic away from the drink? That's what matters, not the history part of it. Yeah, I mean, look, if someone wants to know my drink-a-log, yippee, but it's boring. Got drunk, got sick, fucking cheated on the wife, blah de blah, right? We've all done it. Not today. Why? Because I don't drink. And in addition to not drinking, I'm fairly sober. That'll do.
Now, when you cheated, did you tell her right away, or did you tell her in sobriety?
No, she found out.
So you were still in active addiction when she found out. Was that around the time they went to rehab?
No, it was a couple of years before that.
Did you drink more because of it?
No.
Just drank just as much because you wanted to?
Yep.
That makes sense. Well, I'm glad you're sober 21 years now. That's in America. It's a whole drink. That's a whole life before somebody can drink, because we're 21 here, the alcohol age.
No, I know that. Yeah. But look, it goes back to the simple fact, JD, that all I've done since the 20th of June 2002 is ask for help. That's it. Every day, whether it's from a higher power, whether it's from an electrician if I have a problem, or from a car mechanic, or whatever. Ask for help. I can't, we can. God will take care of the stuff I can't take care of, but I suppose working out what bits he can take care of and what bits I can do can be difficult at times, but because I want to run everything. But on the whole, we're all right. And that's, you know what, sometimes that's good enough. My sponsor, God be good to him, I have two sponsors now, you see. I got to get two because I was afraid if one of them died, now I'd be banjaxed. But my own sponsor used to say to me, he said, Joe, he said, there'll be some days in this, all you will be able to achieve is not pick up a drink. That's it. Nothing else. There'll be no growth, no fuck all, but you won't drink. And that means tomorrow you can go again. And he was right. You can't leave it for too long. You can't leave it for a fortnight. But you can take a day out every so often and just go, right, treading water. Sometimes, like if you're in the sea or in a swimming pool and you get a bit tired and you just make sure you don't fucking sink, but you won't go anywhere. But it's all right.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? You have a chance to go again.
Yeah.
That's all I do. I give myself a chance every day to go again tomorrow, if that makes sense.
Yep, that makes perfect sense to me. Well, thanks again, Joe. I appreciate your time, bud.
No worries, mate. Look, I hope I made some sense. I hope you understood what I was trying to say, and I hope you understood my accent.
I have an accent too. You're the fourth or fifth person from. I've had 3 or 4 from UK, and I've had 1 from Scotland. So now I have Ireland. Work my way down to Europe. Maybe I'll get somebody from Spain eventually.
Yeah, maybe you will. And look, if you ever want to chat, or just saying this for you personally, if you're ever there in the US and you're thinking, oh God, it's no one to ring, it's the middle of the night. Well, if it's the middle of the night for you, it's the middle of the day for me. So pick the phone up and give me a ring.
You got it.
24/7, 365, JD. All
I
right.
appreciate that, Joe.
No worries. All right then, my friend.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. God bless. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.